What is up, everyone? We are back with another sometimes weekly, sometimes monthly video talking about contender pieces to buy. And I will say, I went to bed, I put my head on the pillow, and I woke up to paragraph long text message from Will saying he's changing our entire plan for the video. So Will, let the people know what the hell's going on in this video.
I had an idea. Fun little game show feel for the contender buys. We are allotted the following draft picks to find trades in the Dynasty Daddy trade database for one QB, one running back, one wide receiver, and one tight end. The picks we're able to use for each of these positions. You get one first round pick, two second round picks, and a third round pick. So you have to find players for those picks. We're going to go position by position. Let us know in the comments whose contending team was assembled better, me or Jeremy's. I think they're both going to be great, but let us know who did a better job utilizing the picks. And if you've got your own trades you're trying to make in your Dynasty leagues, join the Dynasty Daddy trade show live streams every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern time. Jeremy and I going through most recent week's events and talking through your trades. Definitely check that out. Let's get into it. At QB, and I'm going to use my third round pick for Matthew Stafford. You know, these are trades we found in the database. I know it feels like you might have to add on a little bit more than a third to get Stafford, but for a lot of these trades that we'll find for some of these contending pieces, at this point in the season, heading into playoff times, there's going to be some teams that have these contending type players that, you know, they feel like they want to cash out on the dynasty value a little bit since they're not going to be able to use the production for the rest of the year if they're going to miss out on the playoffs. So I could see you finding, you know, Stafford for a third. Stafford right now is the QB5 in points per game, and he leads all quarterbacks with pass attempts, completions, and touchdowns inside the 10-yard line. Touchdowns and production isn't always sticky for quarterbacks that are not very mobile, but Stafford is balling. Rams offense is balling. I expect this to continue the rest of the season. And, you know, I feel like there's a lot of vibes and feelings that Stafford's just going to be done at the end of the season. But the way he's playing right now would not surprise me if, you know, McVay, Davante, they all run it back for another year, depending on how the rest of the season goes. So my buy is Stafford.
Yeah, I mean, Stafford is someone that has the old stank to him, but you might get an extra year or two out of him, and he's already playing at an MVP level. So that is a good value for your third. My quarterback is the one, the only, the legend himself, Indiana Jones, Daniel Jones, currently QB 18 on Dynasty Daddy and 17 in KeepTradeCut. I am using my second round pick on Daniel Jones. Again, this is similar kind of logic to the Stafford in terms of value. Might need to add a little bit to it. But again, if Daniel Jones is on a rotting roster that's really trying to retool, getting any sort of value, some of these deals will happen. Why do I like Daniel Jones? Well, he does have an amazing rushing floor. Currently, he has 5 rushing touchdowns, which is accounted for 25% of all his fantasy points. Add in a favorable playoff schedule as well. So I could see him being a sneaky value down the stretch, and with his rushing floor that not many quarterbacks have currently, he's a pretty safe bet for that second round range.
I like it. You might even be able to get Daniel Jones for a second in some leagues just based off of the most recent performances. I feel like Dynasty gamers tend to latch onto what happened most recently. And I'm just willing to bet on the Colts offense for the rest of the season based off of what we've seen. And obviously, JT's not going to score 3 touchdowns every game. Like that for you. All right, with the third round pick out of the way, I'm going to be using one of my second round picks on Kenneth Walker, who I think you could pretty easily get for a second across most leagues just based off how this season has gone, how frustrating the Charbonnet goal line touchdowns have been, and the overall production for Kenneth Walker compared to the expectations. He's RB23 per game through the season. It's the last year of his rookie deal. He'll be an unrestricted free agent in 2026. And we got some positive coach speak at the end of this last game. That was one of the most productive of his season. Mike McDaniel talking about he's showing why he deserves more opportunities. And I do want to call out how frustrating the goal line stuff has been, all the Charbonnet goal line red zone touchdowns. But across the last 3 weeks, Kenneth Walker has 5 carries inside the 5 to Charbonnet's 1. So I don't necessarily think that's a total changing of the guard of he's the goal line back every single time, because we're still going to get the AJ Barner tush push touchdowns, might even get a Rashid Shaheed end around in the red zone to piss off Kenneth Walker managers even more. But I just think that it's not necessarily set in stone that it is Charbonnet's role completely. I still think it's going to be a split, but I do think that Kenneth Walker, the talent, has locked himself into 15 plus opportunities a game. And I think a second round pick for 25-year-old last year of his rookie deal, I'm expecting, if not re-signed with Seattle, to have another opportunity to have a great role for a different team. So I think this is a little bit of if I'm going to use my second on a running back, that I feel solid enough about the production as well as the long-term dynasty value.
Yeah, I mean, Kenneth Walker's been an up and down player, but with a second round pick, there's only so much you can buy at the running back room. And that is why I had to bust out my prize possession. My first round pick goes for James Cook, a high-end RB and someone that has been dominating this entire year in a run-heavy offense. And for me, I'm trying to win this year. I'm not sitting here being, oh, he's 25. He could go to a different team. I got to worry about Chardonnay or Shaheed. If you're worrying about Shaheed catching the ball, affecting your running back, you got a problem. That's why I'm going with James Cook here. Adding in that he has 950 rushing yards and 20-plus receptions. He's one of 2 running backs that have that stat line. Such a high floor, and any elite team down the stretch in fantasy needs an elite running back. That is an engine of a competitive team, and that's why I am investing my first-round pick in the running back position.
You know, after talking down on my Kenneth Walker pick, I want to talk down on the James Cook one, especially using your first, but I think that is a great trade. I think Cook, especially getting the contract extension as well, like you just feel so good long-term of him being locked into that role. Like if they're going to pay him that money, they're going to use him the way they've used him. Some like inconsistent usage with like some passing game stuff. Like obviously they're still going to rotate in the other running backs and, you know, we're going to see Ty Johnson and, you know, Ray Davis every now and then. But, you know, overall, the usage efficiency for Cook in that offense has been awesome.
18 points per game and 6 high-end spike weeks, which is those are going to be weeks that he's just absolutely tilting the scales in your face. Or is it scales?
Yeah, tipping the scales.
It's scales,
yeah.
Right? Okay.
What else are you tipping?
Yeah, he's tipping the scales in your favor.
Well, I'm going to tip the scales in my favor by using my first-round pick on a wide receiver. Give me George Pickens for a first. Wide receiver 4 per game. Now, I know a lot of that was without CeeDee Lamb the start of the season, but he's 24. Probably going to get the franchise tag. I want him to stay in this Cowboys offense situation. As far as like using your first round pick, where do you think George Pickens would go in a rookie draft next year? You know, if you're putting him up against the top of the class, you know, we're not expecting to be super strong quarterback class. You put him against some of these other wide receivers. I'm getting the production for the end of this year. 24-year-old Dynasty asset. Just had a blow up game with CD back as well. I just want to have pieces of this offense. Give me Pickens for a first.
I mean, Pickens has certainly been impressive, but I will say, giving me some crap for James Cook, spending a first round there, and then using your first round pick on a wide receiver 2 in that offense.
Nah,
questionable, man.
You gotta open your third eye, bro. That's 1A, that's 1A, 1B right there.
Well, my wide receiver will be Davante Adams with a second round pick. Currently wide receiver 25 in Dynasty Daddy and 32 on KeepTradeCut. He's averaging 15.9 points per game and had 4 high-end spike weeks. And the key thing here, and I don't know if you mentioned it with the Stafford thing, with the red zone targets, but this is why I want Davante Adams. He currently is tied, leading the league with 10 receiving touchdowns. That's just going to win you weeks. I know he's older, but just like you spending a first for an elite wide receiver 2, I'm going to spend a second for elite wide receiver 2 here. Get me Davante Adams. Sure, he might be older. He might be closer to his retirement home. But 10 receiving touchdowns and producing, even with Puka Nacua there, is something that I feel strongly about.
Yeah, and there's even been some weird stuff with the heavier personnel, but it's been more Davante Adams in those single wide receiver sets than Puka over the past couple weeks. And that might be injury related, but still, I unfortunately do like the buy. Maybe I should have gone for the Stafford Davante stack and use my first elsewhere. Man, I'll have to reevaluate.
I'll say a peek behind the curtain of this episode is it was a struggle because it was like, I really want Davante Adams, but actually, no, you have him. So
yeah, there were a couple. There were a couple, like I think Diggs is another, you know, honorable mention for a wide receiver that you could probably get for a second just at his age. We saw a little bit of an increase in, you know, routes and overall snap percentage this past week. You know, it was kind of slow rolling him and they returned from the ACL. So I like Diggs as well, considered him. Man, something about George Pickens smashing Monday night got me going. I'm sending that first out. All right, moving on here to tight end. I said I wanted pieces of the Dallas Cowboys offense. I'm going to continue that with the tight end position. We're going to do 0.5 tight end premium for this one. So matters a little bit, but tight ends don't really matter all that much. But still, give me Jake Ferguson for a second. He has 9 targets inside the 10 this season, leads all tight ends. There's been a bit of a production dip with CD, some inconsistent games. That was just to be expected versus what we were seeing at the beginning of the season, where it looked like he was going to be the tight end 1 for the rest of the year. But still, over the past 4 games with CD back, has 3 targets inside the 10. I just want pieces of this offense. I believe in the Cowboys being this consolidated enough passing attack where it's going to go through Pickens, CD, Ferguson. If I'm making a tight end bet, give me one that's going to get red zone targets, going to give me touchdown upside. So don't feel great. Going to be honest. I don't want to backtrack too much and have my last piece sound like I'm talking down on my team. Part of me did want to use the third for the tight end just because I feel like it doesn't matter as much. But forget what I just said. Jake Ferguson for a second. My team is sick. Let me know in the comments. Jeremy, I'll toss it over to you.
He saw himself in the mirror for a few seconds and was like, wait, why did I spend a second on Jake Ferguson when you could get Travis Kelce for a third? But this kind of goes to what you're saying, is there's so many tight ends out there for thirds that it's hard to really justify taking a second or higher on a different position when it's like, if I really just need production this year, what's a better bet than a Travis Kelce type tight end? That, sure, next year we don't really know what his outlook looks like, but this year, if I'm trying to win, Travis Kelce for a third is a steal. He's averaged 17.6 points per game with 3 high-end spike weeks. Currently tight end 10 on Dynasty Daddy. So people do think this is the move to make in terms of investing in tight end. Whereas if you look at the public sentiment of dynasty value on KeepTradeCut, he's 24. So it's a big gap between what the trades are saying and what the actual people's sentiment on the player are saying. Some of it might be Taylor Swift fatigue, but most likely it's him being 36 and people think this is his retirement tour.
I like it. I think the Kelce production, I think people were expecting a huge dip with Rice coming back. And I know the past couple weeks for the Chiefs have not been gangbusters, but man, this year, just the inability to run the ball has turned them into a very, very pass heavy team, which is, pretty exciting for all the pass catching options. So I do like the Kelce buy. There's a chance this isn't his last year. We haven't had the firm, this is how I'm going out. If I had to guess, I would guess that it would be his last year. And how many third round picks have we burned in the past on wide receivers that went in the third, fourth round, or undrafted running backs that we liked the team they went to, so don't hate using that on a tight end you think is going to smash for the rest of the year. Let us know in the comments whose team was better. My Stafford, Kenneth Walker, George Pickens, Jake Ferguson contending team, or Jeremy's team of Daniel Jones, James Cook, Davante Adams, and Travis Kelce. Which team would you rather have for your dynasty team for the rest of the season and beyond? Okay, I'm going to get a little bit of the and beyond in there. I know a couple dynasty guys. And beyond.
That's how you try to spin it. You'd be like, well, he took a bunch of old guys,
See, he's trying to
Davante Adams and Kelce next year.
He's trying to convince you that his team is better.
It's contender buys. Stay focused.
He's mixing my words. We're playing dynasty and trying to win this year. Let us know in the comments. Join us Tuesday night every week, the Dynasty Daddy Trade Show live stream. Hope to see you there. Join the Discord. Links in the description. Appreciate you all. Peace